to the channel. Rod with Self-Educated Entrepreneur, out here on the road. I want to say thank you. It looks like I've gained about 10 subscribers this last week, couple weeks. So I want to say thank you. Welcome to the channel. And if you all could like and subscribe and push this out, especially liking it to get the algorithms and get this out a little bit more. I really am shooting for at least 50 subscribers at that point. That way I'm not sitting here doing a pre-record and such. We can go live and have a live chat in a discussion, you know, have an open chat room. So that would all help. You know, shared it out or suggested it to some friends. So today I wanted to talk about what it's like being out here today in 2024 compared to what it was like in 1988, 89 through the 1990s driving truck. As you know, I've been out here. I started out in 86 with my chauffeur's license, shuttling trucks for National Lease as a mechanic. I don't want to say a mechanic, but a light mechanic. I checked in and out rental trucks. I washed them. I did oil changes, brakes, wheel seals, tire changes, the simple maintenance stuff, preventative maintenance, so the main mechanics could do the heavy grunt work back then. And I did that for a couple of years, and did vocational school for a year in diesel truck mechanics, and then associate's degree in heavy truck diesel mechanics, and been a licensed diesel mechanic since late 80s. And I started driving full-time due to the fact that I went out and applied for a mechanic's job and ended up taking a test drive because they were full with mechanics. Basically, they didn't have a mechanic's position, but saw on my resume or application that I knew how to drive a truck. Drove a Michigan special truck out of the yard because that's where I'm from. So we do a lot of heavy haul up there, of course, as you know, with the 8-axle trailers, but 11-axle total. So got the truck and wagons out of the yard and got a job that paid twice as much as the mechanic's position. So down on my luck and behind on bills, payments, I needed the work. So here I am, and we'll have a discussion about my little history through life and how I ended up where I'm at. I'm a pretty well-traveled person, and career-wise, you will be pretty amazed on both sides of the fence, from the professional side, white collar, to back to the blue collar skill trades. So I started out cab overs, Freightliner and Mack cab overs. I worked with a friend of mine. His dad drove for Central Transport, and which was a hub out of Romulus, Michigan. So did the he had a 300 horse Cummins 10-speed. Basically I would just fill in and help out when I could, when things were heavy for him and just needed a co-driver. When I went full-time on my own, I started out in a early 70s Mack cab over. And now remember, folks, we're talking about back in the day before cell phones, cell towers, smartphones, technology. You showed up, you filled out paper applications. There was no online stuff because internet wasn't existent then. So early 70s Mack. It had the KTA Cummins. I want to say it was the 450 horse. It was pretty well tired out truck. Drove that for a very short spell. Moved up into a Mack roll-off with a pup trailer behind it, and then I went into my Superliner Mack with the 4 1/4 cat 13 speed. all those trucks were mechanical trucks. There was no computers, no technology, no air conditioning. So you got to remember, before, I believe, 1997, I'd have to look, but it was right in that era where commercial motor vehicles were mandated to have air conditioning to cut down on driver fatigue. So therefore, when I started, air conditioning was a luxury option that either the owner-operator spec'd or the company was very generous for you to have it. Like 255, rolled 2 windows down, 55 miles an hour. Now, here's the thing on that, and that's why I made that joke. Today, the speed limits, especially if you go west of the Mississippi or anywhere in the up north of 75 to 80 miles an hour, here, you know, down in Virginia and the southeast, up into the Midwest, you know, 70 top speed. Back then, and the trucks now, and the correlation is now the trucks are governed, so you'll never see that speed limit, you know, unless you're an owner op or your company is very generous and turns the truck up, you know, the speed limiter up for you. Back then, the trucks went as fast as you could get them. The only thing that would hold the speed down was the gear ratio on the axles and the transmission setup. I've had trucks that would do 80 plus miles an hour. I remember in the late 90s having a truck, it literally to the floorboard would run 96 miles an hour. But the front end would start shimmying and walking around, so it wasn't equipped to go that fast. But the correlation of that was the trucks went as fast as you wanted them to go, but the speed limit was only 55 miles an hour then. So we didn't get the luxury of, the commercial motor vehicles didn't get that luxury uptick of speed for quite a long time. So 55, and I'll tell you, you felt like you just drugged that day out. And I'll tell you, those were, as I would say to my wife, when I make a reference in the split in my career, because I've got the before, the after, and the in between, which I'll talk about in another video. But I always tell her, back in my outlaw days, we ran radar detectors, you ran CVs, you were constantly looking for the police, the Smokey Bear. And you got away. I mean, I always drove on the edge. You know, you pushed it all the time, or you broke the law, but you always pushed it to just get it done during the day, because things were of a different mindset then. Technology has come along, and it's really changed the playing field out here. Trucks are being tracked, ELDs, electronic logs, scale houses, they just sit back and eat donuts. Pretty much the whole scale house just scans the whole truck, x-rays the trailer, blah, blah, blah. Everything is so done that they know everything about you before you get out of the truck and come in with your paperwork. So, different time. But the trucks didn't have computers. You were lucky if you had an AM/FM cassette player. It was a luxury to be able to bring cassettes and throw them in the tape deck and listen to music on your own, because you didn't have satellite radio. So all you had was, and like I said, no internet, no streaming music. So all you had was AM/FM radio stations, and you knew all the radio stations, you knew all the disc jockeys, when they were on during the day, what kind of playlist was going to happen. You know, and there's those things that you may ask, how did you communicate with the office? And a couple ways. Pay phones. We had pay phones. There was no cell phones. You got to a truck stop or a travel port or something. What I did at home is we bought a 1-800 number, because it was cheaper to pay the 1-800 number monthly than all the collect calls going home. When I got stopped somewhere, so if I got stopped at a truck stop, I would call the dispatch and, you know, just check in if I got to my stop. And it's funny because I see some of these hotels, truck stops and such, you can see where the old, just a line, and you would see a dozen and a half line of where the inserts of the payphones used to be in the wall, and all these, we'd all stand, you know, right next to each other, you know, just having that conversation in public. So yes, that's how it was then. But you got to your destination, and they always had a payphone in the shipping or receiving office. So you would call in to the office, check in, let them know you're there, get any directions or information. Or if you got to your shipper or receiving area, they would have a message for you. So that's how we did it then, and it worked. It worked. Needless to say, it's just the cell phones or wireless phones, everything is just, it's a convenience. But I always think to myself, if an EMP or something was to take out, you know, the computers, the grid, these people would be lost. Because you got to remember, the BOLs, the bill of lading, they were all handwritten out. Very rarely were they printed out. Sometimes they would be printed out, but not like they are today. But you didn't go onto the computer, type in all the information, then it went over to a printer and printed out. Basically everything was handwritten, and it would just lose warehousing's mind if you had to handwrite all of your BOLs every day. But that's what they did then. That was, you know, carbon copy paper, so you had 2, 3, 4, you know, copies and sheets. So that's how they did it. And like I said, it worked. It was antiquated compared to today, but when the system goes down, let me tell you, you talk about a turd show. When you can't print stuff off and things, you know, it's got to go more into a manual mode, or hey, you may have to, you know, the computer's not there working, you got to think for yourself. But yeah, that was something else. We used payphones, so I didn't have to worry about all this laws with holding a cell phone in your hand and having these charge outlets. Now, it's not cigarette lighters, charge outlets, power outlets for all this electronic devices in here. I mean, I literally got 3 computers looking at me all day when I'm driving. My cell phone, the ELD tablet, and the Garmin. And we didn't, yes, we used paper maps. There was no electronic GPS. There was no Google Maps. There was no Garmin's. There was no Rand McNally. There was Rand McNally, but it was a paper maps. So you had to learn how to use, and you got this plastic scale, and you would literally walk around on the map with it, and you would calculate your miles that way. Or they had an index, especially in the truckers' atlases, they had an index in the back, and they would say, all right, if you want to go from Detroit to Atlanta, it would give you the miles in a truck route. And then you would just calculate, all right, if it says, hey, it's going to take you, for example, 500 miles, all you had to do is just take, and that's why I said earlier, you always carried a pen and a pad to make notes, pen and the right directions down, pen and pad and a calculator. So you just take 60 and divide it, you know, 500 by 60, and that would give you your time that would allow you to get there. And I always use, you know, 60 is 60 miles per hour, but I would just use that as a reference. But it worked. I still do that. I can still look at signs, and if it says the next up town I'm going to, if there's a sign that says 130 miles, I mean, I can look at my spouse and say, oh, that's 2 hours and 10 minutes. And she's like, how do you know that? Just 60 miles per hour. So 60 times 2 is 120. There's 120, 10 more minutes. So it's a mile a minute. So that's why. But yeah, you had to learn how to navigate using your brain and using the paper maps, reading a paper map and how to get somewhere. But you had your pen and paper to always write down thorough directions on, especially getting a truck into that place, because you wanted it. And then they nearly had people there, that's all they did all day at a shipper receiver, is give truck drivers directions on how to get to their facility. So those were things we did back then, and it worked. And you always had to have directions. I know I've gotten very reliant between my Garmin and my Google Maps. I use Google Maps as a map, but now I don't swear by. I go by the Garmin because it's in truck mode for length, height, and width, and weight. So it flagged me one day. I turned down a road and it said I couldn't continue on because there was a 5-ton bridge. So never be that person that drives over a bridge and collapses it because you don't understand numbers. But yeah, and you know, you had to calculate everything manually, and I think that's what gives me the edge over the young kids that are coming out of truck driving school that are relying on the cell phones and apps and all that jazz. Because when that stuff goes down, crashes, doesn't work, you don't have signal for your phone, you can still, what I always say is, when I'm freestyling it, if you're freestyling, it means I know where I'm going, I know what I got to do, I know where I got to turn and how to get there, and I don't need to be guided with electronic device. I can just do it off memory. And it's nice. It's nice that I've gotten that first and foremost, but I, as an older person being out here, I definitely have learned to adapt and evolve into using all the electronic devices that's needed. I mean, I do all these, I'm self-taught on YouTube, editing, and everything I do at home and out here, it's pretty much been a self-taught. I didn't go to truck driving school. I just self-taught. Couple older gentlemen that showed me where everything was, and I just doodled around in the yard until I got comfortable, and then I'd bobtail out of the yard as I was servicing the trucks and changing the oils, and then I got, you know, more confident parking and maneuvering trailers in the yard, to where I started taking off, going down the road and picking up and delivering back customers' trailers that were leasing trailers from us to get them serviced. So that is me in a nutshell in this truck, and I do miss the old days. I really do. I think it was a better time. We have too many international people out here driving that can't speak English. I don't know. Let's not cross the line being prejudiced, but we're seeing less and less American native, American citizens that were born and raised here. So out here on the road. But I run into a few gentlemen. It's getting to be far and few now. So someone my age that can relate to what it was then to what it is now. So I've definitely been at this over the course before and after technology. And Mountain Dew came in glass bottles. There was no plastic bottles then. So Mountain Dew was in glass bottles, and it was a good time. I look back and I didn't know I was living those good times, but for what we're dealing with out here in rules and regulations, and the government just having their hand in everything we do in working, it is annoying. It's the biggest annoyance I've ever seen between EPA and just the U.S. government that knows nothing about this industry. So, and these trucks now are so dummied down with so much IT in them that most of these, I call them kids, most of them coming out of truck driving school. It's this parking spot I'm in, I'm on I-77, right on the West Virginia line, right where the scale houses are when you cross out of into Virginia. I'm right there at the Love's truck stop. Literally come around the parking lot. I thought this guy's got the last parking spot, so I was gonna have to go sit and wait for someone to pull out. So I sat waiting to get around this guy because I was just gonna let him back up, and he tried backing up, tried a couple times and gave up, just pulled up, pulled around. So I pulled up, said, well, you gave it up. I backed in the first shot, so I don't know why he couldn't get backed in, but the guy next to me, ATS there, he was like, well, you showed him up, and I said, I don't know why he didn't take it. So this time of day, I got in here just 6:06 and find any parking space, and where I need to go is so remote. There's no restrooms, no nothing up there. My customer, so I just decided to dive in here and cut the day a couple hours short. Otherwise, I got a pretty good full day in, about 10 hours of driving, close to it. I'm sorry, nine and a half hours of driving. I turned everything off. But yeah, back then 55 miles an hour, and people would go by, they'd wave. They gave you the fist, pumping the fist for the air horn, because people weren't distracted with phones and all that infotainment centers in their cars. There was no cup holders in cars back then, so people just cruised along, listened to the radio, enjoyed the drive, enjoyed the scenery, and like, it was a different time. And I look back and I miss those days compared to what it is now. But we weren't regulated in the sense I was very acclimated up until I took my sabbatical from driving. Very acclimated, and it wasn't uncommon for me to work. And this is as a W-2 employee and such, and even over the road, to work 80 to 100 hours a week. You know, if you were coming in wanting to only work 40 hours, you'd have been fired, and they would have put someone else in that truck. They're like, that truck's got to roll. And that was the mindset then, is the wheels need to be turning, that truck needs to be making money. To say you're only going to work your 10, 12 hours and park the truck, that was a no-no. If you stop to get smokes and pop, you better have all that stuff. When you roll in and toss all your gear in the truck and take off of your work, you know, just doing local daily work, have all your stuff in the truck and you just run. And we did. We ran pretty good and hard. It's mindset me in a work ethic different than what I see out here now. Too many guys give up too easy. They're too weak, too lazy in the mindset. You know, and I think I've been through two companies, trucking companies, that have gone bankrupt, where I've watched equipment and trucks get repoed and payroll checks get bounced. And I'll tell you what, that's the biggest pain in the ass that you can ever endure, is your payroll's bounced, and then you're having to clean up the mess all week. And you didn't have cell phones then, so you're running around, cutting work short, you know. And basically, when the payroll would bounce, I'd park the truck, say, you know what, I got to take care of this mess. You get me cash in hand. And you did. You went in there, you nearly backed the boss up and say, I want cash in hand. And then you kind of knew it was time to cut ties and split. But you know, you got to watch, especially startup companies. That was the one thing on the second one that went bankrupt. I didn't pick up on it right away, but when I looked around, I said, man, you guys got off, you know, new startup company and everything's brand new. yeah, they ended up leasing. What'd they do? They leased everything brand new at a 23% interest. I about fell out of the front door of the office. I said, you guys did the dumbest mistake you could have. And I said, I would have started with all used equipment and worked your capital up and bled a truck in at a time years down the road. But they had an alter ego that they wanted to show up so-and-so, and I want new equipment, blah, blah, blah. So that I think they stayed in business for 5 years and then over leveraged and went out. But yeah, back then, long hours, very little home time. I burned out. That's why I stepped away from driving and went in a different career path. So I went back to college, and we'll have a discussion because that's going to lead into a 2-part series I got coming up on a travel that my spouse and I have. And that's the other thing too, like I said, to like and subscribe, but also share these out and get some new subscribers. If I can hit 50 subscribers, we can go live and just hit that live button, and we can always be having a one-on-one real-time conversation. So that's what I'd want. That's what I want to do, and just get everyone's, hey, maybe someone's got a question about something out here. So I'd rather just answer it right then and there instead of back and forth playing this pre-recorded tag. But things are going well. Left yesterday, got a few, got close to 500 miles in today. Wasn't a big hurrah, but I just wanted to get a short video out and just say hey to the new subscribers, and I see you out there, so thank you. We are gonna sign off here, and I'm gonna get dinner rolling, and take a look. We're trying to look at purchasing a new house. I bought a starter home, I think 8 years in it. It's starter enough. I'm ready to move on and get a more permanent residence. So we're been working on that, and just some other stuff going on. But anyhow, for all you folks, thank you for being here. Help us get this, we're halfway there to that 50 subscribers, so I really appreciate that. Let's get this really going. Let me know what you want to hear more of out here. I don't know what to pick out of my brain that's really going to entice you. So if there's something you're intrigued about in the driving career, I would be more than happy to have that discussion. So right now, just playing it calm, cool, and collected, and just being a smooth operator as a old, 57-year-old man out here. I'm not having to run myself ragged like I did 25 years ago. So until next time, folks, you stay safe out there, continuing educating yourself, and we'll see you soon. Self-educated entrepreneur.